Good afternoon. My name is Keith Baker. I'm very glad to welcome you to this Hall of Fame induction ceremony, a little bit different than we have done in previous years, where the Hall of Fame ceremony has been pretty much a venue for athletics recognition, but as many institutions are doing, we are venturing into the realm of honoring those who have also been very, very important to our academic colleges. So with that being said, I would like to introduce to you our chairman, our chief executive officer, Mr. Brian Mueller.
Thank you very much, Keith, and I want to just briefly welcome you all here. We've been looking forward to this day, and for a long time, for many months. It's been many months in the planning. Grand Canyon is going through a period of really strong growth, and we have a lot to be thankful for. I could start counting the things, but we'd be here for a long time. God has been very good to us. We're very fortunate. We're very humbled. But probably the thing that we're most fortunate about and thankful for is the history of Grand Canyon and the ability to get back with all of the people who have built the university and built the base of the university what it is today. I hear stories all the time. I get a chance to talk to so many of you about all the years and all the friendships and how committed you all were to this and how loyal to the university you all have been through the years. And we want to make sure that you understand we're very thankful for that, we're very appreciative of that, and we're very humbled by the fact that you're here. I hope you have an absolutely tremendous weekend here. We want to thank you for all that you've done, congratulate you for the tremendous accomplishments, and hope this is a good evening for you. Thank you very much. Dr. Wooden.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Wooden. I'm Dean for the College of Arts and Sciences. And on behalf of all the faculty, staff, and alumni in the College of Arts and Sciences, it is my sincere pleasure and honor to introduce you to Dr. Brian Baker, our 2012 inductee to the Grand Canyon University Hall of Fame. A native of Phoenix, Arizona, Robin Baker earned his Bachelor of Arts in History and Political Science with high honors from Grand Canyon University in 1980. 2 years later, he was named Outstanding Graduate at Hardin-Simmons University, where he earned a master's degree in history. In 1989, he completed his doctorate in history at Texas A&M, again graduating with honors. Dr. Baker's research has focused on American Civil War and Reconstruction, 19th century American political and quantitative history, and the history of the southern United States. He also has a special interest in the works of C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien and has collected several first editions of their work. After completing his formal education, Dr. Baker served as assistant professor of history at Wheaton College in Illinois from 1989 to 1992. Then assistant professor of history at John Brown University in Arkansas for 2 years. Dr. Baker then came back to Grand Canyon University from 1994 to 1999. He began as associate professor of history. In 1996, he was named dean of the College of Liberal Arts. In 1997, he became vice president of academic affairs, and then in 1998, he was named senior vice president. As a historian and an experienced university administrator, Dr. Baker spent the next 8 years as provost at George Fox University. In that role, he has helped the university gain specialized accreditation for the engineering, social work, athletic training, and music undergraduate programs, as well as the seminary and the psychology graduate programs. He initiated new efforts in globalization of the curriculum and helped create the university's Act 6 program, a leadership and scholarship initiative for multicultural students. Dr. Baker also serves as the chair of Northwest Conference and is on the board of the National Association of Independent Colleges. Most recently, Dr. Baker became the 12th president of George Fox University on July 1st, 2007. Through Dr. Baker's innovative leadership as president, the university has grown to become the second largest private university in Oregon and has enhanced its reputation for academic excellence. On a more personal note, Dr. Baker married his wife Ruth in 1980 while a student at Grand Canyon University. She serves as a substitute teacher in the Newburgh School District. Their son Jacob is currently a student at George Fox. Their daughter Rebecca is a student at Azusa Pacific University, and their daughter Tara attends high school in Newburgh. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Robin Baker.
Thank you. I know he called me Brian because really, at Grand Canyon anyway, as I came in, I met the Salmons, and they obviously didn't know who I was, so I introduced myself, and I said, I'm the brother of Keith Baker, who's also known as Brian in some circles. And immediately they knew who I was, or at least began to associate me with a group of people that were well known at Grand Canyon University. It's a joy to be back, and thank you for the award. As I came down, Ruth and I came down the escalator in the Terminal 4 at the airport is one of the big Grand Canyon billboard signs that says, Finding Your Purpose. And it reminded me of the long history that my family, my wife's family, and many people in this room have had with Grand Canyon University. The Reeds and the Bakers, at least well represented in this room today, my grandparents came to this valley from Texas and Oklahoma during the Depression in the 1930s, and they settled in the valley here, and they farmed for many, many years, and joined churches and became part of faith communities. And out of that Baptist group at the time, there grew a vision for a place that would provide an excellent education, but one that was centered in faith. And it was their vision, not just my grandparents, but people like them, who helped form what we now know as Grand Canyon University. And in 1949, as you've already heard, it was settled in Prescott and then shortly to move to this site in Phoenix, Arizona in the fall of 1951. There's just a long history of my family with this institution. There are more than 40 members of my broad family who have either graduated or attended George Fox University, and many of them are in this room today. I'm sorry, that's my own university. I talk so much for George Fox, it's really problematic, my fault, for Grand Canyon University. And I'm very proud of that. And if you grew up like Keith and I did in my home, you heard the stories of Grand Canyon. And I remember so much them talking about Dr. and Mrs. Brazel, and Dr. Brazel's here, I believe, sitting in the back today, Dr. Niles Puckett, Dr. Betty and Roland Beck, Dr. D.C. Martin. And in fact, on my own blog at George Fox University, I recently posted my memories of Dr. D.C. Martin there. And so even before you came to Grand Canyon University, as a young person, you felt like you were a part of the community. You felt like you knew the people there. You knew the stories. You knew their passions. You knew why they founded this place. They founded this place, yes, to educate students well, but also to ground in them a deep sense of faith and to do what the billboard says, to help them find a purpose, not just for themselves, but so they might go and make a difference in the world for Christ. So it was a deep privilege to come and to study here. And when I came, Dr. Barbara Hoffman, who was in the history department, made a huge difference in my life. And of course, Dr. D.C. Martin. I think Keith will remember that we used to sit, it was so fun to take the tour today, because what you now have is not what we experienced in the past. And that's really neat. But there is something about the past that draws people together, even though it was less. And the cafeteria was not very significant when I was a student here from 1976 to 1980. And we ate together, obviously, and as in a Christian tradition, we often prayed. And there was this kind of funny thing that went along with praying, and that you bowed your head and closed your eyes, and students would often take food from you when you were doing that. And Dr. Martin came in one day, and I think Keith may remember this, but Dr. Martin came in, and he sat at the table with Keith and Thane Barnes, and a number of us were sitting there, and we were waiting, because we knew Dr. Martin was going to pray. And so we were set to sort of do something to his tray, and he sort of looked at us, and then he looked up to heaven, and he said, God, you know how it is. And he started eating, and we just thought that was so very much unfair. But I can't tell you how much those individuals contributed to my own life. We not only, again, were educated in this place and received one of the finest educations you can get, but they mentored us in ways that became meaningful for a lifetime. We met our spouses here, my spouse Ruth, who we've been married now for 32 years. So in my family, the people who came to this place received much more than a degree at the end. They received a vision for life and partnerships for life that raised children and contributed to communities and simply made a broad difference for the Lord as they looked out for a lifetime. So one of the things I would just like to leave you with is this. It's always nice to receive an award. But when I started thinking about this, I decided that I would take the award with this understanding, that my uncles, my aunts, my wife, my siblings, my nieces, my cousins, there are 40 people who have attended this university from my family. All of those professors and all of those people like the Brazells who committed their lives to this place, they created a foundation for me and my family that helped me do the things that you talked about today. So I take no credit for that, really. I'm like the one that stands on giants. I'm at the top of the pyramid, and I get the attention, and I get the attention at my own institution, but I do so only because everyone else laid the foundation for who I've been able to become. So in Christ's name, I accept the award on behalf of the Bakers and the Reeds and the Ballards and everyone else who has been a part of this community. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I am Kimberly LaPrade, and I'm the Dean in the College of Education. On behalf of the college's leadership team, faculty, and staff, I am so proud and pleased to induct Marcy Salmon into the College of Education Academic Hall of Fame. Marcy Husted Salmon graduated from Grand Canyon University in 1989 with a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education. That same year, she married her high school sweetheart, Tim Salmon. After college, Marcy taught kindergarten and second grade in Paradise Valley, Arizona. Marcy has been very involved with giving back to the community, serving on boards of the Laurel House, an organization that provides a loving Christian home for teenage girls in crisis in Orange County, California, and Family Matters, a nonprofit ministry whose goal is to see families transformed by God's grace. Recently, she joined the board of Changing Lives in Costa Rica, a Scottsdale-based nonprofit that works with Christian churches, organizations, and individuals in Central and South America to teach the tenets of the Christian faith. Marcy's passion for helping others also extends to volunteer work. She volunteers at Neighborhood Ministries and Maggie's Place, both Christ-based ministries helping those in need. In addition, she volunteers at Scottsdale Christian Academy and at Scottsdale Bible Church. Marcy and her husband, Tim, established the Tim Salmon Foundation, which serves disadvantaged children and families. They also established the Tim Salmon and Marcy Salmon Scholarship at Grand Canyon University, which assists deserving students in need of financial assistance. The College of Education, one of our mottos is leading, learning, and serving. And it's quite evident that Marcy exemplifies that service aspect of our mission. She promotes servant leadership in educational communities and engages a diverse and global community of learners with purpose and passion. Also, Marcy enjoys raising her 4 children and keeps busy with numerous activities with her husband, Tim: tennis, skiing, boating, Bible studies with friends, and family time. Marcy was a cheerleader also at Grand Canyon University, and she's been not only our biggest cheerleader at Grand Canyon as a college, but her family's and to her church family, and it's her time to shine. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome up our best cheerleader, Marcy Salmon. You know they make the dean stand.
Thank you. Well, if you saw the Academy Awards, the artist won, so maybe silence is golden. Now, I have a few words to say. Thanks so much for having me here. I am honored to be receiving this recognition and proud to be an Antelope now more than ever. I look around, I'm so impressed with the campus life. It is, like Robin said, so much different. I know all these inductees will see that it's so much different than when we lived here. But I do look back fondly on my time here. I'd wanted to be a teacher since I was 5 years old, no other dream but to be a mom. And so when I learned about Grand Canyon, their education department, and that it was a Christian school, that's all I needed to know to commit to coming here. Little did I know that I was going 20 minutes away and not to the Grand Canyon. But what the school has accomplished in the past few years is amazing, and there is no question now what or where GCU is. Grand Canyon was known as the school to go to for education, and it definitely lived up to its reputation. Graduating with an elementary ed degree was a great accomplishment for me. The training I received here equipped me for not only for my teaching career, but for many aspects of my life. The practicums and seemingly endless projects prepared me for the hard work ahead. The professors encouraged our creativity, excellence in the classroom, and a deep understanding of the individual child. And the confidence they instilled in me has lasted a lifetime. Although I only taught for a few years, the teaching I received here has allowed me to use those skills with my own children and in working with many other children in various situations. Having established the Tim Salmon Foundation with Tim has given us the opportunity to work with many children in less than desirable circumstances. Volunteering in today's classrooms, doing crafts with hospitalized children, working with foster kids, and spending time with teens in crisis has given us the chance to continue the lessons I learned here. The Department of Education gave me a great foundation to understand children and work with them at their level and help give them a hope for their future. I know I was blessed to grow up in the home that I did, and it's my desire to give children the same opportunities. Our foundation has allowed us to help many others, including the students here at GCU with the scholarships that were mentioned. We are proud to continue to be a part of Grand Canyon. So once again, I'm honored for this recognition. Thanks for continuing the great tradition of education here.
I am Kevin Barksdale, Dean of the Ken Blanchard College of Business. Welcome today. On behalf of our distinguished and beloved faculty, staff, and students throughout the years, it's my pleasure to introduce our inductee this year. If your heart's not filled already, I'm not sure what else we could do, listening to what we've heard so far. Dr. Baker reminded me of the reality that one of my life verses that speaks so highly of Jared today is that to whom much is given, much will be required. And I think what we're seeing today and what we're witnessing as we hear about our inductees is that those people to whom much has been given, but much has been returned. We live out this life, Jared, before a great cloud of witnesses. We pray every day that we'll be found faithful. Thank you for being found faithful through today. Jared is an Arizona native, growing up in Central Phoenix, less than a mile away from the university. That's pretty cool. He started his undergrad at Grand Canyon University in January '95 and met his wife, Christine, when she started one semester later. She's an alum. He majored in Christian studies and preached for vacationing pastors at churches around the state. The entrepreneurial bug hit Jared in 1995 when he started his first company, AdWorld, a classified ad and auction website. Jared said it was almost like eBay, but not enough like eBay to succeed. In 1996, while teaching himself to write code, he began on his second venture, On-Site Productions, a website design company. Excuse me. In 1997, he got his first consulting position with Intel in Chandler, Arizona. After graduating in 1999, he and his wife moved to New York City, where he took a consulting position with the Lehman Brothers. That summer, at the age of 24, he started Brinkster with his wife Christine in their apartment. Sounds a lot like a lot of entrepreneurial ventures we know of. A year later, Christine's brother Nat joined the company as his business partner. In 2001, they moved it to Virginia Beach, Virginia. In 2004, they moved back to Phoenix to open a second office and data center location for Brinkster. And in 2007, he returned to GCU in the program we're very proud of, the Ken Blanchard Executive MBA program. He's the CEO of Brinkster, a managed and cloud hosting company with an 8,000 square foot private top-tier data center in downtown Phoenix. I think it's about to grow. Brinkster now has over 50,000 customers in 200 countries. Is that not what GCU is about? Global citizens, 200 countries, Jared. The company employs 35 people, and that's growing, and donates 1% of its revenue to charities and missionaries all over the world. He's the editor-in-chief of a new magazine, Cloud Magazine, which we would invite you to look up. It's an innovative marketing approach for Brinkster. It's available in iTunes, in fact, and I told him I'd pitch that for you. It's an app. We'd love for you to see it, but we're so proud of what he's doing. He lives in Phoenix with his wife and 4 children, 9 and 7 and 2, and then 2 months. Jared lives out the 3 pillars of who we are at Ken Blanchard College of Business. We're entrepreneurial in spirit, we're innovative, and his business is both of those things. But more importantly than anything else, that he carries out everything he does with a servant's heart. And we're so proud for him to be our inductee this year, Jared Stauffer. Got it? Yeah.
My daughter told me to imagine all of you in your underwear. But all I can see is the front row, so... I feel a little odd being one of the youngest inductees. I feel like after hearing Dr. Baker, who I have memories of, it's funny, you're standing up here on the stage talking, and sitting in the audience, I felt like maybe I was back in chapel and you were, leading or something. Your voice and your presence sounded very comfortingly familiar. So congratulations to you and to all of the rest of the inductees. I started at Grand Canyon in 1995 as a... Gosh, I guess it was a young man. I don't necessarily feel like a man at that point, but I think I was 19 and I had no idea what my life was going to be like or where I was going to go. And like many of you, the university had just an absolute tremendous impact on my life. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be where I am without the university. It was only a semester into being here that I graciously helped the new freshman girls move into the dorms, and it was a sacrifice, but I was very blessed out of it. I met my wife that as she and her parents drove into campus for the first time to drop her off. I'm just amazed at what God has done. I'm amazed at what God has done in my life. I definitely don't deserve any of this, but I'm amazed at how He's taken, just a scrawny little Phoenix boy and turned him into somebody who can have an impact on hundreds, if not thousands, of people. And that's what I'm most thankful for. Probably the biggest thing in my life is I want to make sure that people are changed by their impact with me and in a positive way. And so that's, the whole tenet of servant leadership and serving others is just a huge part of who I am and the College of Business and just, I think, who the university probably has been since the early days and will continue to be. I'm so blessed to have an amazing family around me. My mom's a graduate of Grand Canyon as well as my wife. And just so many amazing people around me. So many, my family, my wife, my parents have just helped me to be who I am today. So thank you, Kevin. I'm honored and humbled to receive this award.
Good afternoon, and he's right, you can't see anything past the first row. My name is Dr. Ann McNamara, and I'm the Dean for the College of Nursing. And today I am just very honored to bring our nursing inductee and tell you a little bit about her background. Shirley Riggi is the person that we chose to become part of this year's Hall of Fame. Shirley is a clinical director for Scottsdale Healthcare. And I have a very tight connection with Scottsdale Healthcare because I've been a trustee there for 10 years. So not only have I known her in the nursing community, I've also seen the work that she's done to transform the hospital. And many of you may have had care there, but Shirley's oftentimes just behind some of the things and the initiatives that need to happen. She's been with Scottsdale for over 20 years, serving in multiple healthcare settings and roles. And that kind of defines who she is. She's flexible, she's willing to kind of give where she needs to be. She's currently the director of the Home Health Department and Professional Nursing Education and the Magnet Project Director. Now, you may not understand the impact of Magnet, but Magnet is nursing excellence, and it's a nationally bestowed award. And interestingly enough, I currently sit on the national board that runs the Magnet program, and Scottsdale Healthcare is actually one of the few systems in the United States that has Magnet status, and all 3 hospitals have done that. And I watched what Shirley did as she took the system to Magnet. And that may sound simple, but it involved every department. Every person had to be behind it, and she also convinced the board of directors, I gave a little help there too, Shirley, but to really understand the importance of nursing excellence and receiving excellent patient care. So they just recently got redesignated for this prestigious award. Scottsdale Healthcare is only one of 20 systems that has that award, and we are the only system in the state of Arizona that holds that. Mrs. Riggi earned her bachelor's degree in nursing in 1995 from Grand Canyon University. She finished her master's in 2005, and right now she is just finishing up, and I've got faith in you, Shirley, that you're going to do it, to finish her doctorate of nursing practice with Case Western University to finish this May in 2012. She's written numerous articles, presented at national conferences on quality of care, the importances of achieving and sustaining educational levels, helping nurses grow professionally, onboarding new hires, and nursing management. Her clinical interests are in the elderly and functional health status. Her management interests are in building excellence in nursing practice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce my friend and colleague, Shirley Riggi.
Hello. I feel so honored to receive this award. It's probably like the Oscars to me because I have always wanted to be a nurse. From the time I was very, very small, I wanted to be a nurse. And I love the slogan that Grand Canyon has about finding your purpose because I knew what I wanted to do. But when I came to Grand Canyon, what I found is that mediocre was not okay, that really you have to always strive for excellence. And they helped me understand, excuse me, they helped me understand that that was within myself and to really find that passion that I had and that I could use that passion to motivate and to grow myself and to grow other nurses. I had no idea what my career was going to be when I graduated from this stage. Last time I was here, I was standing on this stage getting pinned as a nurse, and brings back a lot of memories. I have been able to achieve so many different things in my career. I have done everything from working as a nurse on a unit to really being able to motivate 3,000 nurses to be better than what they are today, and to grow professionally into what they can be, their possibilities of being a nurse at the greatest level that they can be. And it really took a lot of the education that I had at Grand Canyon, my foundation, because I truly got my foundation in education right here from Grand Canyon. And it really is where my heart is. And those things that I learned that I thought maybe weren't so important as I was going through them, I tap into them every single day to help someone else to understand how to get to that next level, to know who you are, your values, your beliefs, and to live by those, and to really push so that you can help others. Because nursing is all about helping others. It's about helping others at their lowest time or their hardest time, and sometimes at the happiest time when they bring a child into the world, and knowing that responsibility. So nursing to me is a service. It is one of the most pleasurable things that you could do. It's the best career that you could ever have, and I want the other nurses to feel that and to grow into that and to be a part of that. And I thank Grand Canyon every day for giving me all that foundation, not only in the knowledge and the skills as a nurse, but also in knowing who I am as a person, and knowing that that passion is in there, and that having the confidence to go out and act on that passion and to really move into a different direction. I see my role in nursing is to not only help those nurses at Scottsdale Healthcare, but to take and find new ways to deliver better care for our entire nation. So thank you very much, Anne, for thinking of me, and thank you very much for this wonderful honor.
Everybody's extremely gifted in height except for me. Never mind. I'm Claude Pensis, and I'm Dean of the College of Fine Arts and Production. And I have to tell you that when I came here 30 years ago, Grand Canyon University was known as a singing school. I didn't know exactly what that meant until I heard our choirs. And our choir back then was just absolutely amazing. I come from a music family, so I've heard a lot of choirs, but none of them really began to match what I heard coming out of Grand Canyon University. I bring this up because we have had several engines in our life that have helped to lead our program, and especially in terms of vocal music. And one of these engines is Christine Weidinger, who I am thrilled to get to meet and to introduce you to you today. And if you have a little spare time, go to YouTube and type in Christine Weidinger. You will find some amazing performances, absolutely stunning. I'm very pleased to award Christine Weidinger as our college's inductee. Christine has enjoyed a distinguished career as an operatic soprano, starring in most of the world's major opera houses and most of the world's major operas. A 1969 graduate of Grand Canyon College at that time, the Arizona native made her debut at the Metropolitan Opera, and she was also our first winner of the Metropolitan Opera competition, which is tremendous. She went on to sing at La Scala, the Vienna State Opera, the Liceo Theater of Barcelona, the Municipal Opera of Marseille, the Los Angeles Opera, the San Diego Opera, and many, many others. She has shared the stage with the likes of Luciano Pavarotti, Placido Domingo, Montserrat Caballé, and Marilyn Horne. And she has collaborated with conducting greats like Riccardo Muti, Richard Bonning, Eric Leinsdorf, and Silvio Varzivo. Her wide-ranging repertoire includes works by Verdi, Mozart, Donizetti, and Wagner. The German press celebrated her as, quote, the miracle soprano. Equally enthusiastic, the Italian press described her as, quote, a genuine prima donna in full measure. Ms. Weidinger teaches voice in Durham, North Carolina, and heads the Triangle Opera Studios, an organization founded to provide performance opportunities for singers seeking to begin professional careers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with my great pleasure that I present Ms. Christine Weidinger.
Well, my story is much different from anyone else's here. I started somewhere else. I wasn't a Southern Baptist. The only thing I had ever wanted to do in my whole life was sing. When I was 3 years old, my mother put me on top of a table for her ladies' group at church and had me sing some little song that she had taught me, and they all went, "Oh, isn't that wonderful?" I thought, I want to do this all the time. I just want to keep on doing this. And I kept singing, but I didn't think I had much voice, and I went to Phoenix College to get an education more cheaply than you can at a university. And when I graduated from there, I looked around for a university, and I auditioned for one that had a wonderful opera singer on their staff, and I thought, I want to sing like her. That's the one. And so I auditioned for a scholarship because my parents didn't have any money to send me to school, and I thought, I don't want to end up like my mother, typing letters and answering phones. There's something special I can do, but I won't know what that is until I go to college. So I auditioned for a big university, and they laughed me off the stage. They said I not only didn't have enough to give a scholarship to, but I should do something else with my life, honey, and they laughed. So I thought, well, that's kind of rough. And so I looked around. I needed a scholarship. My parents could not have afforded it. So I auditioned for Grand Canyon College because they were offering a 90% scholarship. And I thought, that's perfect. So I auditioned and got it. I was so grateful. It really was the most, I think, fortunate day in my entire life. They gave me a 90% scholarship, and I got so much training as a singer and as a performer and really as a person. The education values here were very high. I'm sure they still are. The teachers really took their jobs as teachers and mentors very seriously. And I felt with my first teacher here, well, the only teacher I had, they were a couple, Marlene and Macon Delavan, and they were the only voice teachers here. So when you sang in choirs, when you sang with anybody else here, you never heard it done wrong. And that's a tremendous boon to a young singer, to never hear it done through the nose, through the ears, through the anything else. They just taught good singing. And they required us to, I'll never forget my first lesson with Marlene Delavan. I came in and I was nervous because I thought, the last school said I don't have anything. So I said, I really have a bad sore throat. I don't know if I can sing today. And she said, oh, shut up. No, shut up and sing. If you can phonate, you can sing. Now let's get started. Okay. Okay, this is going to be rough. Okay. And she was very patient, but she never changed her tune. She never said, that's okay, she said, no, that's not right, no, that's not right. For 3 years I heard, that's not right, that's not right, that's not enough. And then finally she said, well, you finally got it. I thought you'd never get it. She said, you're such a blockhead. But I shouldn't just talk about I sang 4 hours a day because they took that 90% seriously. So they worked me and worked me and worked me, but because I needed to sing a lot to learn how to sing correctly, I gained an incredible amount. I sang about 4 hours a day in different groups and trios and choraleros, which was the traveling choir, and oratorio society, and I started winning vocal competitions, which was a big surprise to me. I thought, well, I guess they think I have something. So I started winning vocal competitions, and while I was still here. And Marlene always taught, this was Marlene Delavan, my teacher, always taught me not to worry about the outcome of a singing competition. Just do your best, that's it. And be a good colleague, but stay away from everybody. And that was good advice. Not everybody was trained to be a good person like she trained us. And I shouldn't just talk about the music department or the vocal department, which was incredible. It was incredible. They taught us to be so strong. We never folded because we would have been killed, I think. We didn't fold. Being sick was not an excuse. Being dead might. They taught us to be very tough. I had a very long, very distinguished career, and it was built on this bedrock. They taught us to be strong and not to fold, not to give up, just keep on going, and don't be bad to your colleagues. Try to help everybody that you meet. And I had never been taught that before. They were the first people that really believed in me and mentored me. I'm incredibly grateful to this school and for the Delavans. And not just for the voice department or the music department. Every department had the same standards. You had to come up to the mark, but they helped you do it, and they made you feel like you could do it. It was really incredible, considering that we had no buildings, really, at that time, and everything was not decrepit exactly, but it wasn't like it is now. This is incredible. Beautiful buildings, beautiful dorms, and their apartments for married people. That didn't happen then. It was kind of bare bones. And my singing teacher's studio was very small, and the floor bent. But I learned to sing there, so it doesn't matter where I was. And we did all of our operas, not in a beautiful theater like this. We did all of our operas in the gym, which is kind of amazing, with 2 pianos, no orchestra. But you know, you have to do the same thing in a gym with no orchestra that you'd have to do at La Scala or the Met or Barcelona or anywhere else. You still have to just pump out the notes and know your role and not run into the furniture. So I learned that a little bit later. One of the things I really want to mention, though, is completely different from, or completely separate from the music department, was one of my best memories of my entire life, was going on a trip to the Grand Canyon with Mrs. Brazel, or Dr. Brazel. She was the PE, she was the dean of PE, I think, for women. And she took us on a trip, and it was all PE majors, and then I said, I'd like to go too. And on the way, she said, don't forget that it's 3 hours down and 6 hours out. And, and all the PE majors laughed because they said, she's not going to make it out. We're gonna have to go down and get her. You know how singers are. They're really soft. And so when I came out 6 hours later, they all cheered. And they said, man, we didn't think you were going to come out. That's really great. So she had taught them not only to be good athletes, but to be good people and to care about other people. That's what I learned here. And I think that's what they still teach here. So I'm very grateful to have been here and grateful for everything I got. And I'm very honored to accept this. I really am. I'm so pleased. Thank you very much.
A native of Tempe, Arizona, Kevin Warren enrolled at Grand Canyon College in 1984, just before his junior year. In 2 seasons at Grand Canyon, he excelled both in the classroom and on the basketball court. Warren scored 1,118 points during his 2-year career, averaging 20 points per game, the 4th best in the 62-year history of Grand Canyon basketball. In his senior season, Warren averaged 23.3 points per game, which is also 4th best all time. Kevin's 42-point effort versus Concordia College, November 17, 1984, is also the 4th best single-game scoring output in GCU history. In his career at Grand Canyon, Kevin scored 20 or more points 26 times and topped the 30-point mark 8 times. Kevin's competitive excellence was not limited to the basketball floor. He also earned GTE COSIDA Academic All-America honors as a senior, along with NAIA Academic All-America honors in both seasons while at Grand Canyon. In 2012, Kevin starts his 14th season in the National Football League and his 8th with the Minnesota Vikings as Vice President of Legal Affairs and Chief Administrative Officer. Prior to joining the Vikings, Kevin also worked with the Detroit Lions and the St. Louis Rams, including the Rams Super Bowl championship over the Tennessee Titans. It was kind of fun putting that together. How about the gym shorts in those days? And I know there were many arguments in the small gathering that we had just prior to the induction ceremony today about who scored what points and who guarded who and that sort of thing. But that's the fun thing about intercollegiate athletics, is being able to look back and reflect on some of those performance-related things. And Ms. Whitinger, it was wonderful to hear that the music department was just as strenuous and strict with the performance-related things as sometimes we see in athletics. And I think that goes with all excellence. At times that expectations are very high. You've heard a little bit about in the video about Kevin and what he has done. I'll let him speak as to what Grand Canyon's education meant to him. Please help me welcome Kevin Warren.
Well, it's truly a pleasure and honor to be here today. I'll try to keep my remarks brief. So instead of 2 hours, I'll try to keep it till about 12 minutes. But first and foremost, I just like to give honor to God, and because He was willing. And I think one of the first things, if I'm blessed enough to make it to heaven, one of the first questions I'm going to ask is, why me? I'm so undeserving of the many things that have happened in my life, the many people who've come across my path, and the different places that I've been able to travel. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't ask that question, why me? So many other people more deserving. And Dr. Baker, congratulations, and Marcy, congratulations to you, and Jared, also congratulations to you. I got a business that I want to talk to you about that may, seriously, that may be able to bless both you and I. And Shirley, congratulations, and Christine, I will be on YouTube tonight listening the music. As my kids and wife will tell you, I'm a music fanatic from, I probably shouldn't say this, but from hip-hop to gospel to you name it, to classical music. So I just want to share a couple moments with you today and tell you what it means to be back at Grand Canyon, as I call it, college, and Grand Canyon University. And as I said, so many people come across your life at interesting times. And Keith Baker, who introduced me, Keith has a wonderful voice, and there were so many times that I think Keith would see me, either I was tired from practice or stressed from school or whatever the case may be, just being the neurotic person that I am, that he would say, K-Dub. He was the first person to call me K-Dub. K-W, you ready to go today? We need you to be ready to go today. And it just seems like when Keith would say that, it was at that time that I needed a pick-me-up. And Keith, I don't know where you are. I just want to thank you for those words of, K-Dub, are you ready to go today? Because there's a lot of mornings that I wake up, even as of late as last week, that I heard your voice saying, K-Dub, are you ready to go today? That I had to get myself to get up, to get going, to go be the best father and husband and worker and little brother and son and friend that I could be. And his wife, Amber, I just want to thank you sincerely. Because when we were here, we didn't get a chance to fly around on a lot of the judges. We got a chance to fly to some games, but a lot of our games we took via bus. And Keith was the SID. He drove the bus, and it was a lot of road trips. And so many times spouses are forgotten. And he was away from the family so much. And I know for those 2 years, he spent so much time with us, and I just would like to thank her for letting him to be around us, because it was some words that he spoke to me that really changed my life. So wherever you are, I really want to thank you, and I mean that sincerely. And Brian Mueller, you've done an unbelievable job in growing Grand Canyon. So much has happened. I graduated 25 years ago, and that's bizarre for me to say that. So many things have happened. And I don't like using the word I, but I was blessed to go get an MBA at Arizona State, go back to Notre Dame and get a law degree. meet my wife, be married this June for 20 years, have 2 kids, my daughter Perry, who's 15 years old, who one of the reasons why we didn't come last night is that we had a chance to enjoy each other at a father-daughter dance in Minnesota, and that was a special, special evening to spend with her. And then we have another son who's 13 years old, and if you know one thing about Minnesota, hockey's important. He's an excellent hockey player, and they're in the middle of districts. And so when this weekend came up, you know, the initial inclination is that we're all going to Phoenix. And Greta and I agreed we let our kids make not all their decisions, but some of their decisions, and allowed him to make the decision. And he said, you know what? I don't want to let my team down. And that meant so much to me, especially being a former athlete, that when you hear your kids say they don't want to let their team down, it really meant a lot for him to want to stay behind. And he just said, Dad, make sure you get a copy of the DVD so I can watch it. But I'm proud of you, but I want to be here for my team. So Powers is there. Maybe one day we'll see him in the NHL. But as I said, so many things have happened these last 25 years. We buried our father 10 years ago, which is still not over to this day. Was blessed to win a Super Bowl championship, 14 years in the NFL, travel around the world, a lot of funerals, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvahs, weddings, all these different things that have happened. So many blessings. There's been some rain along the way. There have been a few speed bumps, but the blessings have so far outnumbered those little minor issues that they're not even worth talking about. But one of the things that I want to make it clear today is that I did not play basketball or participate in sports to get to this day. It was never in my mind of being an All-American or going into any Hall of Fame. I played it for the camaraderie and the compassion and the friendship and really the challenge and the ability to push yourself beyond where you really want to go and to compete and make a difference. And that's why I think sports is so very important. So every drill, every shot, every practice, everything that I did was just to try to get better. I just wanted to get better every day. And when I think about it, that a basketball weighs 22 ounces and a pair of gym shoes, that's it. I look at my son who plays hockey. He's got helmets and bats and sticks and all kind of other stuff. But basketball, a 22-ounce leather ball and a pair of sneakers allowed somebody like me, an unworthy person, to get a chance to travel around the world, to play basketball, to meet people, to get my education paid for, to get my graduate degree paid for because I was blessed enough to do well here at Grand Canyon, to go on and get law school paid for, to work in sports, to have wonderful family and friends. Just a 22-ounce ball and a pair of sneakers and a lot of hard work. And I remember early on when my parents gave me my first basketball and those sneakers, they just said, if you're willing to work at this game, at whatever skill level you've been blessed with, it'll carry you a long way. And so for me to stand here today at this beautiful campus with all these wonderful people, to think, now people look at me now, and even my kids do it, and they think that I grew up like this. And I have to remind them, I grew up, and I'm proud of it, on 24th and Broadway in Phoenix. So anybody here from Phoenix knows where 24th and Broadway. 2131 East Violet Drive was my address. 1,300 square foot house. 6 brothers and sisters. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. My dad sold the house for $13,000 in 1972 so we could move on to a better life in Tempe, Arizona. But I didn't look like this. I didn't grow up like this. And so I get very emotional when I think a 22-ounce piece of leather with some air in it and a pair of sneakers would give someone like me an opportunity to be able to come to a fine school like Grand Canyon, to go on to Arizona State for grad school, on to Notre Dame, and to do so many wonderful things and meet so many people. Because it's never been about the prizes and the awards to me. It's really been about the journey. So before I wrap up, I just want to share some personal family issues. One of the things I just want to thank my wife, Greta. As I said, this June, we'll be married 20 years. And I truly, I say it, she's paid it forward, because I am not easy to deal with. I'm not. I am one of the craziest people you could ever meet. Probably if a doctor got a chance to really sit down with me, they would probably put me on all medication. I'm proud now that the only medication I take is vitamins. But so God bless her for being able to deal with me and some of my crazy habits and working hours. And she has truly been a domestic engineer. I could not do it without her. She takes care of everything at home, and she reminds me of that. So when I try to come in and start giving advice on things that I haven't dealt with, she will remind me that, no, this is what we've been working on for 8 months, so don't come here at 11th hour. So, but I appreciate that about her, Greta. And probably the two most important things I appreciate about her: one, she loves the Lord, and secondly, she's not impressed with me. So that's why I married her. I appreciate it. And then my daughter, Perry. She's a freshman in high school, straight A student, phenomenal athlete, and she also loves the Lord, and it's just been a joy to see her grow. I had a lot of guilt early on in our relationship because the first 2 years in the National Football League, they lived in Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas, Leawood, Kansas, and I lived in St. Louis. I commuted back and forth. So it was the 2 best years of my life because I learned so much about the league, but it was the 2 worst years personally, and I left home when Perry was only 7 months old. So I just have always kind of carried around a burden of being gone, but it seems like it's worked out so far, and I just thank God every day the way she's turned out, and I just pray that she keeps going that way. My parents, Morrison Warren, who passed in 2002, who I love dearly. I miss him. I think about it every day. I still grieve about it, but he was a real man. He was a man's man and promoted education, and I'll forever be grateful for what he's done. And my mom, Margaret Warren, who's 87 years old, suffering from kind of the remains of a stroke. So she's not here today, but she still lives in Phoenix, and we'll be able to see her tomorrow, but she's doing well. But interesting growing up in our house. And I think if our parents taught us a couple things, is that they taught us that you got to work. So there was no one if you lived in our house, you had to work regardless of age. I have never to this day, when I think back growing up, ever saw a repair person at my house. I never saw a maid. I never saw a yard man or yard person. We never went to a car wash. And so I chuckle about that, but I thank my parents for instilling in me a work ethic. We washed cars. We waxed cars. We cut the yard. We painted the house. We cleaned our rooms. And so they were all about work. The other thing they were about was education. Education was so important to them. If you didn't do well in school, do your best, whatever that was, is that sports, that wasn't even on the radar. I mean, they'll cancel you for the season in a minute. They find out you're fooling around in class, they'll go tell the teacher, oh, no, he's not playing for the year. It wasn't these like, okay, we'll check next week and then you can come back. No, you're out for the year. And so they made that very clear. Education was important. There were some times, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want to tell a true statement. If you split a verb at dinner, your dinner was over. That was over. It was like, nope, you're done eating. What do you mean I'm done eating? I just took a bite. But if you said got and ain't or whatever, you're done. Enjoy your dinner. Finish it. But I tell you one thing it did, it forced you to truly understand the power of the written word. The other thing they did, which I thank them for, is that they instilled in us manners. To this day, I still say yes, ma'am, to my mom. They taught us yes, sir, no, ma'am. And I just thank them for that. And the other thing is that they instilled us a spirit of do not quit, ever. Let them kill you first, but you never, ever, ever better quit at anything. And I just thank them for that. Even though they're not here, I know they're here in spirit. My siblings, as I said, I'm the seventh. I have 6 older brothers and sisters. And my oldest brother, Morrison, who I absolutely love and adore, he went to Stanford University in 1961. I think there were 5 African-American kids there. Took the bus from Phoenix to Stanford. phenomenal athlete, for sure would have played in the National Football League and tore his knee up running wind sprints late one night because someone left the top off a drainage ditch. But one thing I admire about Morrison, and I've told him, but I want to tell him here in front of all of you, is he didn't drop out of school then. He stayed at Stanford. He graduated in 4 years in economics. And he is the only person that I know that with a Stanford degree who volunteered for the Marine Corps and volunteered to go to Vietnam. And I'm just humbled to have an older brother who would do that. He didn't have to do that, but to go and fight for our country. My sister Carolyn is here, one of the most gifted people I've been around, one of the most toughest people I've been around. I'm so glad that she could be here today. She really raised me. We have had some of the most probably memorable arguments of all time. And I admire her for that. And I say that sincerely, but I love her to death. My other sister, Marilyn, is here, who is one of the most sweetest people in the world. And I could always go to Marilyn for sage advice and good advice, and I'm just so happy that she's here today. I have a brother, Wayne, that's in town. I don't know if he made it, and I have two other brothers, Howard and Dwight, who were not able to make it. But one thing about growing up in the Warren household, and I say this sincerely, is I think we invented the concept of waterboarding. I truly believe it. I mean, I know we did. Terroristic threats, waterboarding. It was so interesting. When I went to Notre Dame Law School, I was blessed to win all of the trial competitions. True story. One day, my evidence teacher, Eric Smithburn, pulled me aside and said, "Did you go to law school before and drop out and you're starting again?" I said, "No, I went to Grand Canyon, ASU, and I came here." I said, "Why do you ask?" He said, "You truly have a gift of ability to speak on your feet and in the courtroom and just the argument cross-examination." I said, "Professor Smithburn, if you were blessed to come to my house and spend a weekend with my siblings, a cross-examination, direct examination, before you even put your backpack down it was every day." And so when you get an opportunity to grow up in an environment like this, for me to go and do something in evidence was easy. So I thank my family for allowing me the ability to be able to think on my feet. I also have a group of relatives here, and I call them the studio audience. If you've ever been to the Letterman show, there's people that come in there and they clap, they're happy, they always look good. There's a couple people in the studio audience I say sincerely. I have a cousin, Fred Warren here, Sonny Warren, Aunt Bert, Uncle Sam, Gavin, Joya, I mean, these, John, that are here, Sean, Christy, they're the studio audience because they are at every family event. They don't miss. And for people like me who sometimes don't make that as much of a priority as it should be, I love them for doing that because it's on days like that you really need your studio audience here to be with you. And they're always there. And I just want to thank them for always being in my studio audience, even when times were tough. And that really means so much. Some of my friends, I got some wonderful friends. There's two guys that flew in from Minnesota that I work with. And I thought about it today. I've worked with them for 7 or 8 years. And I said, we probably spend 2,500 to 3,000 hours. I bet you I've spent 20,000 hours with these guys. And for them to fly in today on a Saturday, literally fly in and then turn around and fly back to Minnesota, I will never forget that. But Rob Brzezinski, who's our Vice President of Football Operations, and Steve Poppin is just I was absolutely blown away. Steve's our Vice President of Finance and CFO. And then my right-hand person at the Vikings, Tracy McDonald, who works with me every day. Secondly to Greta, who has to deal with my nonsensical antics sometimes, is Tracy gets to see it all day, every day. And so she's here, and I'm just so grateful that she took the time to come in there. And then one of my dear friend, talk to him probably 10 times a day, Jim Stapleton. You know how there's certain people that you meet that you don't even have to give their full name, they just know them by Stapes. So no matter kind of where you go, if you go in Scottsdale kind of probably anything on Scottsdale Road north of Shea and kind of east of the 101, and you just say Stapes, they'll buy you dinner. So just remember that. But he has truly been a wonderful friend. He and I worked together on the Vikings acquisition, and it's just so good to have him here today. One of the other dear friends that I have to say is my teammate, Rod Monteverdi, who you saw the picture up there. Rod Monteverdi is, and I say it sincerely, he pushed me beyond belief, his beautiful wife, Martha, but it was so good to have someone, really, as I said, we were co-pilots. Some days he flew the plane, some days I flew the plane, but to have Rod here and to have someone, the two alpha males, that we were able to go at each other's throat every day, it really made us better. In closing, there's a couple things I want to just share. This is a great time in the National Football League because it's the scouting combine. People are getting ready for the draft. And so I asked myself, if I were coming out of college this year and I were a scout in the National Football League and I had to go, if my boss sent me out to go scout Kevin Warren, and I went and did a scouting report on him, and I knew it was about his athletic ability, I knew about his family, his siblings, and I knew about his parents, but we had a top pick, and so I said, I want you to really tell me about this guy. And I said, okay, I need to go find out about Kevin Warren. Maybe I should look at his grandparents. So I started thinking about that flying in this morning, and I said, let me look at my grandparents. Let me learn more. Who is Kevin Warren and why he is who he is? Let me give you a quick summary of each one of my grandparents. On my dad's side, my grandfather, Fred Hubbard Warren. He only went to the 4th grade, moved here from Marlin, Texas to Phoenix in 1923, owned the first black drugstore in Phoenix. But the thing that impressed me the most about Grandpa Warren was the fact he was a porter at the Lures Hotel in downtown Phoenix. And he worked there with emphysema 7 days a week for 17 years. He missed work 0 times. 7 days a week for 17 years. Never missed work. So that's my grandfather, 4th grade education. His wife, Lola Bell Warren, was Choctaw Indian and also black from Marlin, Texas, moved here. She was about service. She raised her kids. She raised a lot of other kids. Matter of fact, my sister Marilyn's husband, Arnold, I think Grandma had a big input on helping him as a young man. And he's a pastor now. And Arnold, you've been so instrumental in my life, my Walt. But my grandma had a big influence on a lot of people's lives. Raised a lot of kids, was a wonderful, wonderful mother. Never graduated from school, but got a teaching certificate. On my mom's side, my grandfather, Elliot Mosley, he was one of the Buffalo Soldiers stationed down at Fort Huachuca. Loved to read, read everything. Not formally trained, but loved to read. But when my mother came home from school one day, I think it was in 7th grade, he made the decision that he didn't want to be married anymore and didn't want to be her father anymore, and so he left. We've never seen him again, never talked to him. I never had an opportunity to meet him. But even for whatever reason that caused him to leave, I'm still thankful for him because his blood is in me. And the last person on my mom's side is my grandmother called Big Mama. Big Mama was from Mexico. She was from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Ramona Padilla Hunter. We called her Big Mama. She was about 5'2", 110 pounds. But she went to the 2nd grade. She was a maid at Fort Huachuca. That's how she met my grandfather. That's how she got up here. But you can imagine after your husband leaves, she had to raise the kids. But Big Mama was a maid. And that's why to this day, when I check out of a hotel, I leave a handwritten note and I leave a $20 bill just to thank them for taking the time to clean our rooms, because the story that impacted my life that reminds me of Grand Canyon College more than anything occurred when I was a little boy, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I went with Big Mama to a home in Paradise Valley, Arizona here to clean. And she had a couple ground rules. keep your mouth shut. You don't ask anyone for any food. You can get water. You take your shoes off. You make sure your socks are clean. And when you leave, you always take the last bag of trash and you put your shoes on outdoors. So we had the routine down. We did everything. And before I left, because we used to take the bus, Big Mama lived on 19th Avenue in Buckeye. And we would take the bus there. And then we would take it back. Big Mama was interesting. She's the only person I know who never drove an automobile. So she's the poster child for mass transit in Phoenix. She took buses. She never drove an automobile. She never missed mass. She was never late for work, and she never missed work. But on that day, a sunny day, it was a day like today that we were cleaning that home in Paradise Valley on a Saturday morning. I did what she said. I grabbed the last bag of trash, but I wanted something to drink. I was thirsty before we got on the bus to head back home. So I asked the owner of the house for a glass of water. And she looked and said, oh, sure. So she gave me this beautiful glass. It was one of those glass that was, you can't see through it. I don't know what you call it. It was almost like a window pane glass. And I drank that cold glass of water, and I was so thankful on it. And I was so conditioned. I rinsed the glass out to put it in a dishwasher. And as I was putting my shoes to go out of the door, Big Mama said, make sure you go get the last bag of trash. So I went back in the kitchen to get the trash. The glass was in the trash. And I said, ooh, I hope I didn't crack it. We can't pay for that. So I opened up the trash bag, and I said, Big Mama, did I break this glass? I'm sorry. I just drank some water, and she kind of gave me that look. And I said, Big Mama, I'm sorry if I didn't break it. She gave me that look. She said, just bring the trash. So I tied up the trash. We took it out and threw it in the dumpster. We got on the bus. She could tell I was troubled and I was confused. So I asked her, Big Mama, I'm sorry if I broke the glass. She said, you didn't break the glass. She said, the lady threw the glass away, and she rubbed my hand like this because the color of your skin. I said, excuse me? I didn't even know what racism was. And she said, let me tell you something. She put her arm around me, and I'll never forget this day. And she spoke some words into my heart, into my mind, into my spirit that day that I think about it every morning. And it's one of the reasons why I don't need an alarm clock. She said 6 things to me that I will never forget. She said, number 1, life is not fair, Kevin. She said, there will be some things that come to you in life that you don't deserve. And there will be some things that also come to you in life that you deserve worse that you didn't get, but it's not fair. So if you're looking for life to be fair, you better forget about it. Life is life. And she said, number 2 is that you got to understand the value of education. She only went to 2nd grade. And she says, I want you to go get as much education as you possibly can. She told me, some of these things I'm telling you may not make sense right now, but you better go get as much education as you possibly can so you're not in a position where someone can throw your glass away. 3rd thing she told me is you better love to work. Don't be lazy. Learn how to work. Work and work and work. Become a maniacal worker. The next thing she told me is be humble. No matter what things come your way in life, no matter how many blessings you have, be humble. The 5th thing was in every situation, leave more than you take. Make sure you leave more than you take. Every relationship and every situation, personal or business, leave more than you take. Make sure that everyone that you meet, that their life is better because you came into their life. That when they look back when you're gone, that they said, you know what? That guy made my life better, if nothing more than for a moment. And the last thing she told me is that make sure that you love God. And those 6 tenets that she spoke to me that day, coming up Lincoln from Clearwater Hills and back to the projects, I never forgot. I've never shared that story with my family, but I never forgot them Life's not fair. Get your education, work, be humble, leave more than you take, and love God. And that's really what Grand Canyon College, Grand Canyon University stands for. And I'm so grateful that I had an opportunity to spend a couple years here, people like Keith, all the wonderful professors, walking over to chapel service, and all these things that I used to dream about one day. Ironically, that I work for a team that's purple now, and I was sitting here. But in that chapel service, I would pray. I'd pray for my wife and kids. And I wanted to work in sports. I wanted to go on. I wanted to win a world championship. All of those dreams and desires that are basically budding fruit right now were planted on this campus. And I will forever be grateful for that. Here's a Bible that was given to me on May 24th of 1986 by Dr. Bill Williams, former president of Grand Canyon College. This was my graduation gift from Dr. Williams. There's a lot of markings on the page, but he wrote something in the front of this book that has touched my heart and my life. He says, Kevin, congratulations on an outstanding college career. You are a person of tremendous ability who has used your talents well. I pray God's very best be yours and that the message of this book be the message of your life. The message of this book be the message of your life. I've had some good days. I've had some days where the message of this book has definitely been the message of my life. And I've had some days where the message of this book has been the total opposite of the message of my life. But I've never had a day where I didn't think about Grand Canyon University and say a prayer and praise God and strive to have the message of the book, of this book, be the message of my life. So with that said, Keith, I just thank you for all that you've done. I thank my family, my friends, loved ones. I thank this university, and most of all, I thank God for giving me another day to try to make the message of this book the message of my life. Thank you.
If you would, another round of applause for all of our inductees here this afternoon. Just in case you wanted to know, one of the things we were giving to the inductees is this wonderful little photographic representation. The photos themselves spell out the word canyon, and so it's kind of a nice remembrance, one of the things that was being given to them. If you would, we still have some wonderful activities to go on this afternoon. Women's basketball game has begun. If you're wondering and you're a basketball fan, it is halftime. Dixie State 27, Grand Canyon 32. Hey, not bad. There's food out on the quad area in front of the arena. You're welcome to move to that area to do your fellowshipping and sharing and remembrances in that area. So if we can move from this building to that area there, then of course you have tickets for basketball, and we would love to have you come in and join us there. On behalf of Grand Canyon, thank you very much for your attendance today. God bless.